When David's parents decided to move into a senior living community, he felt a mix of relief and worry. Relief, because he knew they would have access to the care and companionship they needed. Worry, because he feared they might feel forgotten in a place that was not their longtime family home. On his first visit after their move, he realized how essential it was to keep showing up. And over time, he discovered 7 reasons why visiting elderly parents in a senior living community is not just important, but vital. The first reason was emotional support. The transition to a new environment, no matter how comfortable or well run, can be unsettling. His parents had left behind decades of memories, neighbors, and routines. When David visited, his presence reminded them that they were not alone in this change. They could talk about their feelings openly, and his reassurance eased their adjustment. A familiar face, a hug, or even just sitting together made the new space feel less foreign. The second reason was continuity of family connection. Senior living communities can provide friendship and social activities, but nothing can replace the bond of family. By visiting regularly, David reinforced the threads of love and belonging that tied them together. His parents lit up when they saw their grandchildren tagging along, running through the community's gardens, and filling the air with laughter. The visits ensured that the family story continued to unfold, even if the setting had changed. Another reason was advocacy. Even the best communities benefit when residents have family members involved. David quickly learned that his visits allowed him to stay informed about his parents' health and well-being. He could speak with staff, notice small details, and address concerns before they became bigger issues. His presence signaled to caregivers that his parents were deeply cared for, which strengthened the partnership between family and staff. Advocacy wasn't about mistrust. It was about ensuring his parents' voices were always heard. The fourth reason was the joy of shared activities. Senior living communities often offer group events, but doing things together as a family created a different kind of happiness. David sometimes joined his parents for a community concert, other times for a board game in the common room. They laughed, played, and made new memories. Visits turned ordinary afternoons into adventures, whether that meant attending a painting class or simply walking through the courtyard. These shared moments enriched his parents' daily lives in ways that solitary activities never could. The fifth reason was the gift of perspective. David's parents often worried that by moving into a community, they had somehow burdened their children or made themselves less central to family life. His visits showed them the opposite, that they were still valued, cherished, and central. When he sat down with them and shared his own life updates, stories from work, or challenges with raising his kids, his parents felt needed. Their advice and perspective reminded everyone that they still had wisdom to offer. The sixth reason was creating stability. Change can feel disorienting, and visits became anchors in his parents' new schedule. They began to look forward to Saturday mornings when David would arrive with coffee and pastries, or to the monthly family dinners held in the community dining room. These visits gave shape to their weeks and offered reliable joy to anticipate. Stability mattered just as much as spontaneity, especially when everything else in life felt new. Finally, David discovered that visiting brought peace of mind, not just for his parents, but for himself. Every time he left the community, he felt reassured that his parents were cared for, not only by the staff, but by the ongoing love of their family. He no longer worried about them being lonely or neglected, because he knew his presence filled the spaces that professional care could not reach. Peace of mind came from knowing that he was honoring them in the way they had once cared for him. Over the months, David realized these 7 reasons were not just abstract ideas, but living truths that shaped his parents' happiness and his own sense of duty. Visiting wasn't always convenient. There were days when work and life left him exhausted. Yet each time he showed up, he felt the warmth of his parents' smiles and knew the effort was worthwhile. Senior living had provided his parents with safety, but his visits provided them with love. In the end, what mattered most was not the place they lived, but the relationships that continued to thrive within it. David learned that the move to senior living wasn't the end of family life. It was simply a new chapter, one where his presence could make all the difference. And with every visit, he discovered that giving his parents his time was not only important for them, but deeply rewarding for him as well.